Our Warriors hashtag is community creates change. And one of my absolute favorite warriors is doing just this. Angela Williams joins us today. Let me tell you a little bit about Angela. She spent more than a decade in what's known as the game, the pimp prostitute subculture, in which she was trafficked by several different pimps. She left that lifestyle in 2017. And since then, she has become such a leader, a strong advocate for victims and survivors. She speaks, she gives everything, all of her time. She speaks, for instance, very late at night, perhaps, to a lot of girls and women about all of this, women in crisis. She spends countless hours counseling them and trying to find them help, and does find them help. Angela has appeared in 3 different documentaries right now, speaking about her experience as a survivor, but she likes to be known as a warrior. And of course, we like that title, warrior. But 3 different documentaries: Surviving Sex Trafficking, Buying Her, and High Class. Right now, she's also the lead plaintiff. I think this is important, Angela, for us to share also. In the state of Nevada, this public interest lawsuit holding accountable for the conditions that led her to her trafficking. We're going to go through that if Angela wants to talk about it. Angela is a mom, a loving mom, beautiful daughter, and a follower of Jesus. She is unstoppable. This is only the beginning for her, so stay tuned. You can follow her. There's a new book coming out October 1st. We're going to get into that. Vegas Concierge. Let me give you the website, vegasconciergebook.com. Angela, welcome back to the Warriors.
Hi, Lynn.
I'm so proud of you. I am so thankful you're taking the time. I can't say enough good things about you because you are truly the definition of a warrior, and I mean that. And I know you like to be known as a warrior, and you're walking the walk, you're talking the talk, and you're helping others, and that's what it's all about. Let's start with, what do you want to share? Give us an update about you. Anything you want to talk about, just start us off with.
Well, things are rolling. Life is good. The book that I worked 5 years contributing to, Vegas Concierge, is going to be released in just a few days, October 1st. So I'm a little on the edge, but it's exciting. I'm soaking it all up. It's just a very humble moment for me because I would say 8 years ago, I never imagined myself doing all the things that I'm doing and being this deep in advocacy. So I just try to stay humble and see where it goes from there.
I don't know. If anybody shouldn't be humble, I think it's you. because I truly mean this, Angela, when I say this to you, because I'm doing this every day, working with survivors, working in different coalition groups. I have to say, because the Warriors, we talk reality. In my opinion, I'm here in the middle of New York City, very little really trickles down to that person. You know what I'm saying? That needs the help. And that's, for me, the most upsetting thing, because I want that to happen. I want for people to be taken care of. In addition, for our educating and giving out indicators so we don't have new people ending up in this trafficking. But you are doing it, and you should be so proud of yourself. And I am so proud of you. And you really have gotten so much done in the last few years, always with a smile on your face. And I know, I don't care how big your smile is. I know this is a lot. It's just a lot. And you're a mom on top of it, of a young daughter. And it's a lot, but you're handling yourself with grace. And I think you were chosen to do this. Seriously.
Thank you. It's a lot when it's a lot to think, because I can be excited for the mass audience of awareness or seeds that I'm spreading, but at the end of the day, we're still battling this battle, and there's still so many survivors that are lost and don't have a sense of direction, trying to find their way out of the prostitution world or pimp and hoe subculture. So it's bittersweet. But as long as,
Yeah.
people keep educating themselves and bringing, um, more resources available to survivors, then things get better. Things are definitely getting better.
Yeah. I think like that too, Angela. I'll go to bed at night and I'll be like, oh, it's such a battle. Like things are escalating. But we have to stay, in our lanes in this battle, and we have to keep fighting for resources, right? Because that's the
Yeah.
number one thing. It's like money, housing, taking care of people, and legislation, which we at the Warriors, we work a lot on. And we just have to keep going. And I think the pendulum is ever so slightly swinging back because more people are talking about it. But that talk has to really turn into action. We can't just have talk. I'm always preaching action. I want to ask you about a headline, and you don't have to answer it, but if you do, I'd like your thoughts on it. What do you think about all this Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, aka PD, aka Love, that's going down this whole case? Have you
I
been
mean,
reading
I think
about it, keeping up with it, or
yeah, it's cringing. I think he's a certified POS, and sorry, not sorry.
you can say it. We are free here in the
Okay,
Warriors, so
yeah,
say whatever you want to say.
I think he is certified trash, and to listen to the survivors and their stories, it's so parallel to what I mean, almost any like victim goes through in domestic sex trafficking. It's insane for anybody to even argue if a sex trafficking charge is relevant in his freak off situation, and it's disturbing. All of the allegations are disturbing, and there's so many people telling the same stories. I'm pretty sure they're telling the truth. Everything from the way he groomed girls, and the way he threatened them, isolated them, alienated them after, like, every single one of his traits and tactics is very similar to any American pimp. The only difference is he has more resources and had probably a lot of people helping him out.
I have to tell you, living in New York, like I always, for since the 90s, I always heard like rumors about him. I would hear about these parties he was having. Um, and then I'd see all these mansions. Fast forward, I'd be like, I don't think he's making all that money like in the music business to have these, $70 million mansions. But he got away with it for so long, or did he? I just want to share with you that I was doing an interview yesterday, and there was a woman lawyer, because it was a group of us, and and I know she's doing her job, but she was, for lack of better words, like singing his praises almost. A woman, probably like around my age, like, oh, he shouldn't be like,
Pro Diddy, yeah.
yeah. And my husband was in the other room, and when I was done, he's like, "Who are you yelling at? Who are you?" Because I was like, we had just watched video as part of this interview of Talia Graves, a woman who came forward, right, and spoke and was afraid until all this was breaking. This happened to her in 2005, so years ago. It's real, because when there are certain things described that nobody could ever think of, like that's real. Or as you pointed out, different people are describing the same story that may not even know each other. So like it's real, you can tell. But this woman was like, "Oh, he shouldn't be in the jail by himself," and blah 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 blah. My point here is, and something we're getting more involved with and talking about, is the justice system with victims, with survivors, because I was saying, why is it always in favor of the criminal? Why we should be believing victims from the get-go until we can prove otherwise. Why is it always the other side believing in them? Where's the attention? I've done a lot of interviews about this case in the last 2 weeks. I keep bringing it back to, let us focus on these victims. Let us focus on the women. And there are men involved in this too. And it seems to me they just want to focus on him and his baby oil, and that's what the media is going after. And I'm trying to focus on the psychological damage. And there's probably thousands of women by now and men that have not come forward, because these parties have been going on since the 90s. And so I'm very upset with the justice system, with all of our talk and all of this being out in the open, domestic violence and human trafficking, that they still don't flip it
Yeah,
onto a victim, a survivor. What is your experience? What do you have to say about that?
well, this situation is so massive, and he has victims probably globally, and I do believe that there should have been maybe a victim, like a victim center for his victims to safely reach out, because I'm pretty sure a lot more are coming forward. I've heard so many stories, and a lot of people pointing shame on a lot of other A&R, executive producer, other music executives that were right along with him that did a lot of dirt with him. And a lot of people are saying they should be in jail too. There's, other rumors I've heard of, interns that he's violated. Um, that being said, the focus should be away from the baby oil and more towards, seeking justice and making the trial as fair as possible, so the charges against him can stick and not be compromised. But sex trafficking, yes, he definitely was engaging.
I mean, it's pretty clear to see when you're flying people on airplanes from
Across state lines.
across state lines, or, which we haven't even gotten into, other countries, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
That is, and that's what I'm always explaining. This is the definition of sex trafficking, the force, fraud, coercion. We hear those three words constantly, but this is it. And also the stories of women being drugged, taking a drink, naively going to a party thinking they're going to be part of the glam, the music, all this stuff that they may not be experiencing, at home or their lives. They don't intend to go there, drink something, and pass out. But I just want your thoughts on that, because I really have heard for decades here in New York. There's nothing I can do with it because I heard about it. I didn't see proof. I wasn't violated, but I don't know how this guy, and there are a lot of people complicit with him in the business and associates of his. And the most disappointing thing, I'll just finish on this, Angela, is he had a right-hand chief of staff, a woman, that worked with him for years. When I hear a woman, and we know in cases, it's very prevalent, right? We saw Jeffrey Epstein, and there are a lot of women we never hear about that are the right hands, right? It makes me so sick that a woman can do this to another girl or woman. It's disgusting.
Yeah. My trafficker had 3 women blanketing his enterprise, and they would swap roles. They always had a smile on their face, and they would carry themselves like businesswomen. It was quite disturbing. It was easier for him to groom regular girls that you would never imagine engaging in prostitution, and break regular girl next doors girls down, because there was so many layers to his enterprise and so many people just acting as if everything was normal and acceptable. Um, my ex-trafficker that we mentioned in Vegas Concierge was a music producer, and he worked alongside A-list celebrities and musicians, um, and contributed to award-winning songs. And that is disturbing, because he would use those accomplishments. Well, one, he was funding those accomplishments off of the backs of women, and he would use those accomplishments to coerce and manipulate newcomers and girls that he would recruit, some even models and aspiring singers and actresses. He would take their dream and just take it away. They'd probably come into Vegas or LA looking for a way, and he would take that from them. The more money a trafficker has, the more resources they have, the more people they have cooperating with them to engage in these crimes, the more dangerous the trafficker is. The more he feels entitled that he can get away or with everything, or he is above the law. Most of the time they know, some law enforcement people that might have helped them along the way too. So hopefully a lot of people get exposed, and hopefully more than just him gets charged and is responsible for all of these horrific things that have been done for decades.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear with this case so far. I don't want it to be like a Jeffrey Epstein case where we know so many more were complicit involved in this, yet just Ghislaine Maxwell went to prison and he's no longer around, Jeffrey Epstein, and it seems like nobody is
Has
talking about
justice.
it. It just seems like it went away. And again, the media doesn't really cover it or dig deeper, which is what we like to do at the Warriors. And then also, a lot of lawyers swoop in and they get everybody involved, in these class action suits. And women don't want to speak out then because they can't, they're involved in that. So it's a mess. So we're hoping this case will break forth and we'll see what happens. But let's talk about you now. Tell us about like one of your days. What do tell us how you go through the day and what's it like?
Well, I guess in the recent years, my Mondays start on Wednesdays whenever I work on Vegas Concierge.
Mhm.
And well, I wake up, make breakfast, get my kid to school, and come back and work on one of my projects, or maybe might have a Zoom meeting. Read. I have like bookmarks on all of the anti-trafficking news or sex trafficking news in the US. So I'll just read. And sometimes if something is alarming, I'll dig deeper. I guess research tools I learned from Brian. But yeah, I'll dig deeper and I'll read even the discovery of a trafficker's case, study it. Then I just work on the book from Wednesday to the next Wednesday. I usually just work on the book
Yeah.
lately. I have like 2 more documentaries that are in the editing process. So I travel a lot. I travel out anytime I can for panels and conferences, meetings about trafficking. Anything that I can contribute to. But whenever I'm doing stuff like that, it's a different Ange. I get really serious. I like to study whatever I'm engaging in and make it a point that I use the time that I'm being paid for to execute whatever needs to be delivered, and not trauma drama, or a lot of
Yeah.
times in anti-trafficking you'll go somewhere and you're going for a purpose, and then it's like a big therapy session. So I try to stay focused, or like refocus my time if things do get that way whenever I'm around other survivors. But yeah, that's that. And I volunteer a couple days a week at this mission home in my neighborhood. It's one of the most underserved communities in Houston. So I feel like giving my time to the mission home is a way that I can fight trafficking in itself by uplifting the girls at the mission home. And I don't even try to expose them to too much, because they deserve to be innocent and they deserve to be teenagers. So I just try to instill like good value and be supportive to them, and be the lack of what I experienced as a teenager. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. I mean, it's a lot. I know
a
you do
lot.
this
Yeah.
24/7, 365. And just being there for somebody is
Yeah.
sometimes enough, just being there, the hand on the shoulder, have a laugh or something. Geez, when you say you go through about the sex trafficking or different cases, I don't know about you, Angela, but all day long, different cases come across. I get different PR things. It's like nonstop. There is so much going
There's
on
so
with this
many
sex
in the
trafficking across the United States. We're not even talking about other places. We're talking right here in the United States. That's frightening. That's something that stops me in my tracks. It's like, it's so much nonstop. Uh, let me ask you again. I'm very protective of you, right, and your journey. That's the way I am. But you do want to speak out, so that's why we're doing it about your life and your work and your advocacy. Um, but you know that about me. I'm very protective of that survivor. I know you don't like that word, but of your journey, of your story. When your daughter is older, because everything's on the internet now. Have you ever thought about, or you just don't think about it yet because she's, young? How would you explain any of this to her?
well, I have an advocate child. I have an advocate baby, and I realized having her at the time that I had her was probably a gift, and it grounded me. Um, and I've worked in advocacy since I was pregnant with her. So she's gone across the country with me, and she's been in the car with me as I've, rode up and down the track looking for missing teenagers. And I try to explain things to her. She's only 5, but I try to let her know, like, everyone's equal, everyone has a past. There are dark people. And it's so funny, the Diddy subject, anytime she hears his name on TV, she says, Diddy's the bad guy. And I'm glad that she identifies him as the bad guy. But she's a kid. She stays in her kid world. So,
Good.
yeah, I keep her with a child caretaker whenever I'm doing things that, are not 5-year-old appropriate, or in places that might be dangerous, like maybe the track at night when I'm doing outreach services and stuff. I definitely wouldn't bring her there. Um, but for the most part, she's got thick skin, and I want to raise her to where she's just aware of everything. But the same way with the girls at the mission home, I don't want to take her innocence from her. But she'll definitely be aware and ready to fight for her friends if they're shy.
I mean, excellent, because this is my opinion. I think today, in this world we live in, we have to prepare our girls.
Yeah.
Like age appropriate, but really, like you're doing from the beginning almost. There are bad people, and then just take it as they get older, because it's funny. I've had people say to me, I don't want mothers. I don't want to talk to my daughter about this because I'll open up the can of worms. I'm like, listen, the information should come from you, not the internet,
Yeah, they'll
not
find
from,
out.
yeah,
Totally.
not from their friend, and not, their phones are full of predators. If you're not understanding, we need some guardrails on the phones. Kids are smart. You have to talk to them. Like, you have to be the one, open and honest communication. So I don't understand why people still think that way. Like, I don't want to talk about it. We have to talk about it because it is so prevalent in our society. Let's talk about the book now. So you've been working on this for 5 years.
Every
Vegas.
Wednesday, never missed a Wednesday, unless it was Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Wow. So this is a real moment. This,
Yeah,
well, how timely is the book? I don't want to sound so, it almost sounds crass with, I call him Sean Combs because that's how I always referred to him. Even though everybody calls him Diddy and all that, like, it's timely, the book, right?
yes. I have suspicions that my ex trafficker was exploiting Bieber, and there's always been a connection between, like, Sean Combs or Diddy and my trafficker. Diddy's connection with Bieber and my trafficker's connection with Bieber, to where I always raised my eyebrows and started thinking like a lot of these artists that are around my ex trafficker were most likely around him because of drug dependencies, because he would supply the ambiance and the atmosphere and the same thing that he would do to the girls, but to the young artists that weren't fully exposed to having friends that had mansions and, you know, animals and, you know, a plethora of women around. So I feel like you know, it's kind of eerie, the timing.
It is.
But I guess it's the right time. And a lot of people thought that I was batshit crazy telling this story, and now I can put it in truth with fact checkers and and an
But that's what
author.
I'm saying. It's a great time for this book, actually.
Yeah,
Why did they call you, like, you know, batshit crazy? Because they said
it couldn't
don't open it
happen.
up.
It was too far from the truth. I'm exaggerating, or you know, mad
Well,
about this, or money, or for the, you know, in it for money. The likelihood of me getting $1 out of my ex trafficker is probably going to be slim, but the validation and the justice that I'll get from having a piece of paper saying that he owes me millions will be, you know, it'll be pretty enlightening. It'll bring a smile on my face.
it's justice. I
It's
don't.
justice, but I don't get money out of it. So the justice is in the
It's work.
inconveniencing his life is, you know, pretty gratifying, considering he took a piece of my soul for, you know, quite some time. But it's relevant. There are traffickers on all levels, and there are traffickers in the music industry, and you know, there are even traffickers within our government, and we have to not turn a blind eye to people, you know, crying for help or telling their stories, because it could be true.
Yeah.
Most likely is true.
Goes back to my let us believe the victim. You know, why do we always fight against them, you know, but believe the criminals? But I'll leave that for another program. Tell us, what do you want girls and young women, all women, to know right now about any of this? Because listen, it is all of this sex trafficking. It is escalating. Those are the facts. It's becoming more normalized. People are becoming habituated um, to the whole subject, right? Like,
They should
how?
just take heed to the
Yeah.
fact that sorry to interrupt.
No, no, you didn't.
They should just pay attention to the fact that there is one of the biggest music producers, biggest music moguls that our country has, and our country is making an example that they will not accept violence against women. They will not accept trafficking against women. And if you think that it's worth compromising your morals to get flown out, or to you know, come in town or meet up with a celebrity for a party, think twice. Think think beyond that moment, because you could put yourself in a situation where you're doing a lot more than what you flew in or came to the party for. And there are men just like Diddy with less resources, less money, doing the same thing, and they could be a bit more dangerous, or they could have nothing to lose and take your life. It's a dangerous game, and it's a dangerous world out there, and to be aware can save you. I wish that I could just hug every girl and tell them that they're, you know, priceless. They a ticket, a bag, a purse, um, you know, just content for Instagram. It's not worth who you are as a woman and who your core is.
Um, I almost started crying. Got to get my because the self worth. That's what I want girls and women to understand. It's no matter where you come from, like it's they're not inviting you to a party just to have you there. There's always going
Yeah.
to be strings. There's going to be strings attached. And I know I've spoken, to girls and young women. They're like, oh, I know how to take care of myself. I know how to get out of this situation. Well, not if they drug you or lock you in a room. Like you have to understand nothing good comes out of this. Um, how can the public help you? Because we at the Warriors always want takeaways. How can the public help Angela Williams right now?
Buy a book. Buy a book. Buy a copy of Vegas Concierge. There are links to purchase the book on vegasconciergebook.com. Get educated and spread the word. Share the book if you're a reader. Pass it along to somebody who can't afford it. The story is, I would describe like Training Day Part 2 on steroids, set in Vegas. It's corruption, hip hop, and sex trafficking in a bundle. And we took a lot of time to put a lot of detail into key points that a survivor goes through from the time she's taken, which some people will say being taken is an exaggeration, that's not how all trafficking happens, but in some way, shape, or form it is, because you're taken at that moment that you're knocked and moved. You're taken from the person that you were into the person that they're going to break you down to be. So from that point to every aspect through being trafficked to extraction, we detail so much in the book that a person who even just wants to learn about sex trafficking can pretty much learn from this book. Even on the corruption angle, we expose a lot of things that police officers shouldn't be doing. And of course, the story has a music producer in it and some other people around that help facilitate his trafficking. So buy a book.
Buy a book, and don't worry, because we are having all the links, to the book where everybody can purchase it. At the Warriors, we're also going to be making it our October book of the month. Vegas
Oh,
Concierge.
yay! Book clubs.
Of course, book clubs. I'm also going to be urging everybody, buy one copy and then buy a copy for somebody else, because that's what we have to push. We're also having author Brian Joseph on next week. So we'll be talking to him about all of this. And I want you to know, Angela, like we at the Warriors, we are here for you. Your work is really without peer, and your dedication and your commitment to all of this. I mean, I keep telling you the same thing over and over again, like a broken record, but you are the definition of a true warrior. And we want everybody, and even the website, I mean, vegasconciergebook.com. And again, I'll have all the links to everything. It has a resource tab, and it's broken down to like state by state where there's safe housing and resources and things. And that is what we need to get into the public. Where somebody listening to us right now, or might buy a book for somebody else, which we're going to be pushing all next week through the month of October, they have a place to land, right? Like they're not scared. There's a place to go. Give us some final words on all of this. I know that's tough because we have to speak again more, Angela, as
Yeah.
things change, as legislation change, as the book goes along, as much as you want to speak, because we have to keep this in the public's eye all the time. We have to just keep discussing it and discussing it. So finish us up with some final words.
If you have the opportunity to spread a message through the youth, give them a little awareness, give them a little telltale signs, or do what you can do to bring awareness to our youth, empower them. And if you know somebody that's in the life, let them know that you're there for them. There's so many resources out there for women exiting trafficking. Utilize them, take advantage of whatever you can, because it's there and it's meant to help. And I know, you know, if somebody's having, you know, a hard time finding these resources, they can just go on Google, and there's the National Center for, what is it? Not
The hotline number?
No, not the hotline.
National Center for on Sexual Exploitation. Is that what you're talking about? There's that.
I'm trying to think. You might want to edit this part.
No, I'm not editing anything, because
Okay.
I'm gonna no, because what no,
I'm like,
because
you might want to edit this part. I get
no,
there's
no,
an alarm going off upstairs.
but listen, also just VegasConciergeBook.com. The resources listed out under all of that. There's National Center on Sexual Exploitation. We've got some stuff. Yeah, we've got some stuff on that.
It's National Center for Human Trafficking, I think.
Well, there's also the hotline number for if you are, which is the number we give out all over. Everybody gives out, you know, the hotline for
I would call 911 before the hotline.
Well, I was just going to say to you, that now I have a bone to pick with that whole hotline, but that is the number that right now is all over on signs, because I check every bathroom I go to if I'm in an airport to see, because they're supposed to be posting things. However, I wanted to say to you, I always advise everybody, because you have seconds if you're in you know, distress, or even if you want to ask some questions, or you think somebody's being trafficked, if it's not, you know, call 911 first. Right.
I would call
the hotline's a little slow to pick up on the hotline. But we'll leave that. But would you agree with that? The 911 first?
Yeah. If you know someone that needs immediate help, I would call 911 first, and or your local police department main line. And if you're trying to extract somebody on your own and it's just an emergency situation, I would take the person to a hospital. The nurses know what to do at the hospital.
Oh, I have to add
that's
that.
24. It's 24 hours.
Yeah.
And they'll be safe.
That's good. I have to add that actually to our resources at the Warriors, because I didn't think of that. And I work with a lot of healthcare. Shame on me. I've got to have that as, you know, because I want everybody, Angela, in their home. I don't care if you put it in your phone, you put it in your wallet. I'm dating myself. You have a little card in your kitchen. I don't know where, your underwear drawer. I don't know, like have like 4 little points if something happens. So when you're in an emergency, you already know, so you don't panic and do nothing. Like you have some steps to take. I'm really trying to get the public onto that. Be prepared, because any of this can happen to anybody. You have to be ready for all of this. Well, Angela Williams, I adore you. I'm sorry. You really are one of my favorite warriors. I do want to speak so much more. We got to talk more about the book. It'll be breaking in a couple of days, October 1st. I want to say God bless you and your daughter. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do, because you are truly a warrior. And I can't thank you enough for joining us today and sharing, you know, your voice, your expertise. I know sometimes it's not easy, but you are such an example, a fine example of what is needed to help girls, women, to help everybody. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. There's hope.
There's always hope. We got you. There's a lot of hope. We'll talk again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Lynn. Bye.
Bye-bye.